All right, we'll start. So good afternoon once again. Today is the Tuesday afternoon edition of our GT Tuesdays. And so today we're going to our objective, what we're going to look at is just update information and then curricular instruction, but as looking at it from the lens of our secondary program options. And then if you got some happenings, some shout outs you want to share, we'll have that option towards the end, and then a few more resources that we have available. So it's going to be a kind of a highlight, hopefully for you today, of some things that new and old that we have out there. So as you know, I've been trying to keep you updated on how do we look as a state with our COVID numbers that's been reported out. And as you see, our student and teacher populations with reported COVID-19 cases are still trickling up. So that also behooves that I'm asking you once again, take care of yourselves, practice social distancing. If you have that opportunity to telework, use your wash your hands, use your hand sanitizer. We want to, and if you are some of our members that are on the call, if you're that 75 or older, and that you can get that, get on the list to get your COVID-19 shot vaccination, I suggest that you do it. And then if not, make sure that you figure out your registration process for your area so that when it does come open to your category, that you can do that if you are a vaccinator. I know some people are not believe in vaccines and taking those, but what's our wellness check out there? How many of you were in, for some of you, this is the third week, some of this is the second, and some of you are going back. So, because as you see, we fluctuated back up. So hopefully you're doing all right out there. I know that some areas is still really in desperate straits with our COVID situations in their communities. I know in the DFW area, there are really becoming a shortages here. And then there are some in other areas also. So just be careful, just take care of yourselves. Because I would, eventually like to see all of you once again, face to face. When we get an opportunity. So just wanted to remind you of the links to our COVID-19 guidance and resources that are available out there. So it's still on the main page, they still update that. Typically the most updates are coming within our attendance, and those reflections there are, we have instructional continuity planning, where anything dealing with health and safety, the discipline and curriculum and instruction, and some of those other opportunities you will find there. And then hours for SPED and special populations. Sorry, people don't realize you're all working. So making sure that you have those opportunities to look at your other information. And for those who need to share the link or make sure that you have that information, here are the links for the GT Tuesdays that are upcoming. They are for the rest of the year. So you can register for an individually or for the entire series. So put those on your calendar. And I want to say thank you for those who are with me today and who have registered. And let me keep admitting people in and going well. Okay. So I just wanted to update you on the new layout of our GT Education Resources page. As you see, and yes, I am behind a little bit on getting things updated. That is part of my goals for today and tomorrow, is to get everything posted and updated. As we've gone to a different version, it takes a little bit longer to get a couple of things posted, but we're going to get everything up at least this week. Hopefully before Thursday. And so as you see, you have all of the information and then you can expand it out to get to the specific presentations, the YouTube links, the chat log, or any other pieces that are out there as we go in. Making sure I get everybody in. And then I'm gonna call on one of my ESC friends. Amber, if you would help with those who are coming in from the weight room, if you'll admit them for me, thank you. Yes. All right, so as we are looking, marvelous. I love my GTESC contacts. They do help me out. And then one other thing, other two documents that we have available is our GT education guidance document that is out there. And then our FAQ that came out prior to that. So both of those are still posted. We will be working on, actually kind of let me know what kind of guidance that you need for, and where we are in January for the spring or for early summer, so that we can start developing that and getting that ready for you. So if you got some ideas or some more information that you need from us, let me know, put it in the chat, and then I will start working with I have a marvelous Commissioners Advisory Council who are eager to assist and eager to make sure that we are always in the forefront of gifted education. So if there are some tools or resources that you are feeling that is needed, please let me know. We will get that out there. Thank you, Chris. So Chris has taken the guidance on administrative counselor training. Would be great. Okay, we can do that. All right, we can put something out there. It'll be a one pager probably on that. Definitely, we can do that. All right. So if you're not getting announcements, and I'm upping my announcement process to give out to be able to send out something at least quarterly each throughout the year. So this is the link to get announcements, sign up. And then also I would recommend, as I stated earlier in a couple of others, to the administrator addressed, and then the advanced academics. So those are two things I would recommend that you look at. So as we go into it, I would like to make sure I always like to start with our definition. And so what we're looking for is a child or youth. And in this instance today, we're going to talk about youth who perform at or shows the potential for performing at a remarkably high level of accomplishment when compared to others of the same age, experience, environment, and who exhibit high performance capability in intellectual, creative, or artistic area, possess an unusual capacity for leadership, and excels in specific academic field. So those are, that is our definition. That is what has been, what we've been living with for as long as I can remember on, and pretty much is probably when I was in elementary, when they came up with these definitions, and I was in that, what we called in Dallas, a laureate program for our gifted. That's been the definition for it. And so back in the 70s. So this is what we've been working on and building on as we look at how do we serve our students? How do we make sure that we're identifying and helping our co-workers see those potentials, see that student, see that ability out there. And then our goal is to make sure that once we have seen them, identify them, how are we making sure that they are able to demonstrate their abilities in learning, thinking, research, and communication? How they're showing that development of innovative products and performances. How do they reflect their own individuality in their school system, into their classrooms? Where is that creativity coming out compared to their peers? So those students of the same age, experience, or environment. And then our high school students, how are they producing products and performances of professional quality? What are we doing? Who's looking at that product or that performance to say that is the next level? That is where we're going. So as we look at that and we talk about that, I know some of you have some excellent programs out there. So how are you serving? What are your secondary program options? If you'll put that in the chat, so just kind of give me a highlight of what are you doing for your secondary students? I know we're a little bit across the board on that in the state. I'm gonna give you a few examples, but I wanna know what you're doing out there. So, my chat is not moving. You're not talking to me today. Or is everybody just in listen mode only? Okay, so we got honors and AP. We're working on it. Okay. We gotta build where we start, where we can. Okay, got 6 through 8 DT Humanities, pre-AP, AP, got some dual credit. Okay, career independent study option. Got a task force going on to look at what their services are, all right. Collegiate high school, okay. Additional services and options, okay, all right. So as we know, it didn't move. Let me go back. Actually, give me 1 minute. One thing about being able to do on the fly. So as I know, and from conversations and just over the years, we know that typically most of our students are served in either the regular classroom with differentiated instruction for our students, in that advanced placement classroom, which can be the pre-AP, AP, and same with that dual credit. And then you also, not dual credit, I'm sorry, with differentiated instruction. You have your international baccalaureate with those still looking at differentiated instruction. You got your pull-out program, because we do have some high schoolers and some middle schoolers who are in a pull-out program. You got those courses that have been designated within your district. Then we have the Gifted and Talented Independent Study Mentorship Program, which is an innovative course. Then that's an elective that you can use. Some of you, as you said, uses honors programs. I'm sorry, I forgot to put on there the dual credit, or some of you are doing early college also. But then that falls into also your district has defined some courses that are specifically for your GT students, and you have your own track on how to get into those courses. And so those are some of the things, some of the few that is kind of pretty much general across the board. As I see, as you keep putting in there. So as we start thinking about how do we look at this, how do we move forward, or how do we improve? And that's been the question. How do we improve our services and these array of learning opportunities at the secondary level? Because everyone pretty much at some point just really considered it's an elementary thing. But gifted and talented, a kid does not leave that at 5th grade or at 6th grade as they move up into the next level. So we know that their skills are there. And actually, by the time they're getting into 6th, 7th, 8th, and going into high school, they're really looking to say, I need you to specialize what you're doing for me, or I need to be more concentrated effort in either one of these core content areas. Sometimes it is not you're still doing that general intellect, and all your GT kids have to go into all 4 core. That is fine. You have to remember, you define as a local district what that program service is. Now, some of you also look at, well, they might not be gifted in all 4 areas, and you start tracking them, or I won't say tracking them, but you start looking at their specific academic fields. And then you'll say, you can go into science, the math track, English language arts tracks, social studies, sometimes humanities. You're looking at those different services and those processes, which is well and good. And which is when you're really looking at how do we meet the need of our student and really looking at what are you doing to meet the needs of your GT students as you go forward. So what are those challenging learning experiences that they're having in those classrooms? How do you communicate that? And then when you're looking at the next level of their coursework, how is it that you're putting out to it? How are you looking at those specific academic fields? Are you accelerating students into a math track, or it's an English language arts track, or a science track? Or are you looking at beyond the 4 basic high school graduation courses? What else can we add in if we're moving our students to a different level? Or if you have that kid who is advancing and accelerating so fast with the math courses, and in middle school, you already know they're going to the next level, and they probably will max out of what your high school options are, depending on your area. What is your thought process on what is next? How can we serve them out beyond that? So those are the things you have to put into your conversation pieces of either looking at what are your early college, your dual credit, or using Texas College Bridge, or using on-ramps. What are your other options to serve our students? Either Texas Virtual School Network to provide them with a few more courses. What are your options to meet their needs? Especially when you're looking at certain students at different grade levels where they cannot get to the next school. So if you're looking at a middle schooler doing high school work, can they get to the high school to do that course, or do you need to have it at the middle school? And then what does that class configuration look like? Sometimes those are the scheduling and the logistics that we really got to start thinking about. How do we look? How does that look? How does that work out? Because I know when I was in teaching middle school, we had an advanced track for math. So we had, luckily at that point in time, we had one teacher that could teach geometry. So that we were able to move 7th graders in algebra, 8th graders in geometry, so that when they went to high school, they were there. But everyone does not have a qualified at the middle school level, a geometry teacher to go that track. So what are you going to do? Are you going to look for that? Or are you going to step away and say, let's look at our other options? So that goes back to still having this conversation of their areas of interest. And then sometimes, and as I know some of you are looking at the CTE courses, some of the other courses, the arts, the fine arts, how are we looking at those programs to build into our services? And then also looking at those independent study courses that are all available in one of the core content. How are you changing that one up, or using the GT Independent Study Mentorship to bring in that independent research, bring in those processes? And then even with this one, opportunities are provided to pursue areas of interest in selected disciplines. Even if you're using the AP research, AP, it is just the capstone, or the International Baccalaureate, their processing. What are you doing to have those students have that independent research process? Going through that, the work, going through, are you using a rubric? Are you using a specific research method? When you think about it, even scientific method is a guided research process. So thinking about how do you up it? How do you bring into those skills, even if it's in the regular classroom, to the next level? How do we advance it for our students to make sure that they have that quality, that challenge, that creativity, and that skill set that says, this is where you are compared to your peers? And so that goes to when you really to 4.3, where you're looking at that continuum of learning experiences. It takes that time to say, you got to step back, look at your core content, look at your curriculum plan, your scope, and your sequence, and then look at how do you build or overlay your GT services? I know some of you, it really is a stretch to get it into just a regular, the elementary program. And now you're saying, let's get it also in our secondary. How do you build into those pieces? And we know, we're not always, everyone is not into TPSP, but there are still skills. There are still products and performances that we're looking for our students to have. So how do we bring into those pieces as we walk forward into the process? And then, so I see something in the chat, try to make sure I stay with it. So yes, okay, so looking at elementary, I do not have issues. I'm looking at Mallory's statement. Oh, she's responding to someone. So it's also looking at their secondary options. They may not have counselors who can do it. That means really working, sometimes it's really thinking when you're working with your counselors or your master schedulers. One is, it behooves everyone to know who are those identified GT students. Two, what are your program options? How are you providing services? And then really it takes probably 2 years to a year, really training them up to start thinking, how do we schedule for our GT students? How do we make sure that they are appropriately placed? It's not a turnaround time of, let's roll out this week. Some of them can be that advanced to move it and to really think about it and go that way. Some of them you're going to have to massage into it to get to them to that point. So does the ISM count when you have students who are not GT? That course is an elective course. Yes, it does still count. It is still established as a rigorous course. It is still established for our GT students. So yes, you can fill it with your general ed population. So yes. Sorry. Okay, I have to make sure that gets posted. I do believe we do have it in Spanish, but I will make sure we get that posted. I have to write my own notes. All right. And then once again, just kind of the highlights of the TPSP is either TPSP or some sophisticated product or performances. And someone did ask me the other day, what does that really mean by sophisticated products or performances? So we're looking at those that are advanced compared to their peers. And you're the ones who's going to have to really state what is an advanced product or performance at those specific grade levels based on what you're doing. You can use the TPSP rubric in your regular content areas if that is your option, that is consideration, without using the rest of the TPSP. And that will be something we can really go into conversating about, and then looking at different sessions on looking at just the rubric, how to use that in our courses and in the content. And then we also have our areas to accelerate in their strengths. So you still have your College Board, your AP, even if you're just the CLEP, if you're just looking at the assessments, having those students take those tests to test out and move forward. And so you have the information there if you want to reach out to our curriculum and standards and support team on a little bit more on some of those options on acceleration and then getting those credits. And as we said, as I talked about earlier, is those schedule modifications. And as I said, it's probably going to take a moment to really work with your counselors and your schedulers to really think about, how do I be intentional about either determining a GT course, GT classes, or putting certain students in those courses and really moving forward in that process. So just kind of highlight of what we're looking at as a challenging curriculum. So, we're starting with our core Texas knowledge and skills. Those are just where that's the basics. Then you can also overlay the college and career readiness standards. When we look at those courses, I talked about the gifted and talented independent study mentorship, but there's essential knowledge and skills there in that course also that you can pull to use in your other subject areas. Creativity, depth and complexity, pacing, and then differentiation of the curriculum. So I just wanted to highlight, and we'll go back to the chat, one tool that was specifically designed for our secondary educators to look at their coursework, look at the options, and then really, how do you differentiate your course for your AP for your GT students? How do you evaluate that curriculum materials? And then looking at how do you build in that depth and complexity. And then once again, there's an actual system that was developed that you can put in your own information, your own pieces to evaluate how you're doing as part of that depth and complexity, that differentiated instruction. How are you meeting those creative needs of our students? So let me go to the chat to make sure I catch everyone. So the question is, could destination and imagination, UIL, robotics be used in place of the independent project? Asking for a friend. Love it. So I'm going to be very kind of concise here. So destination imagination, it depends on how you're using it. Destination imagination, do you have projects in those skills? Now, are you adding in pieces that you know that will help build out that depth, that complexity, that rigor that we're looking for, more than just the creativity? Now, UIL, it depends on which part of UIL you're talking about, because UIL can be just really a study practice, is just knowledge-based, it's another opportunity, I will put it that way. Not necessarily, some of them do have that performance and that product process, but it does not have that wraparound piece together. So look at that. Robotics could, but I want you to think about how are you doing your robotics? What is that curriculum? What are they doing? How are they putting out a performance? What are they talking about? Is it just I'm putting together a robot and having a gaming challenge or a fight challenge, but what is the skills? What are the things we're looking for? What are we building out into that? So it might be, these are well and good independently, but what are you building into it to build the structure? Same with what we're doing with that. So thinking about what's the foundation, but where are you trying to go with your GT students? And is it open for all? So I got one. They're keeping a digital portfolio of their experience in GT program. Will that work? That is great. That is a great process, and it actually gives them a digital portfolio so I'm assuming this is over the years that they could talk about or during a coursework. So Chris, you might have to come back and tell us a little bit more about that. And all right, put that checklist in the list. See, somebody is using it. All right. And so I just pulled some things from the toolkit as we talk today about the process. So one, principles of differentiated curriculum for the gifted and talented. So here you will see the pieces that we are talking about differentiating instruction. We always start with our content. Well, you have the option of starting with your content, your process, your product, and adding into that effect. So what are you looking at for content? And as I've been working with THL and the different curriculum pieces there, is really like looking at that content. How can you add in something that's more advanced, a different level, instead of just, this is the only place where we're looking at it. And then when you're looking at process, what are those students doing? How they're doing it might look different compared to what you're asking the regular students. We do it for our struggling students, but what are we doing for our GT students? And so having those conversations, and this is where it really involves having everyone having that conversation when they're looking at their curriculum. How do we take it to the next level? And sometimes next level might be a harder reading passage or a different reading passage or a different book compared to this. It might be when I was doing middle school, I had Frankenstein, I had the abridged, I had the regular text, and I had the audio. So you had options for students, same material, same things we're going over, but you had options on the conversation piece. And then how to process it. And so you have to know where you're working. And then when we're looking at our product, is it challenging? Is it building up a new idea? What are those techniques? What is it doing? So how are we changing up our products? And then for the effect, how we're building in that self-directed learning, how we're building, and at this point in THL, in this virtual world, we really, our kids are either striving because they have this opportunity to pretty much to direct where they're learning anyway. They are those students who choose to, if they're an area of interest, I'm gonna learn everything I can about it. But how do we help them build a structure around that and help them to stay on track and go forward? And then what are those different pieces of criteria through self-reflection, through criterions, or in those standardized tests to get to the next level? So this is just a key. You see the link there that you can use to pull this document. It's a one-pager, but I will also be placing these links on the resource page also. Then, as you know, we do use depth and complexity. So I placed the new icons for elements of depth, elements of complexity, and then also our content imperatives. If you have not signed up yet, as you know, our ESCs have a new training, which is on secondary, which is on depth and complexity. So there's a handout there. It's the older handout. We will be updating that within the year, if not by next year, all of our depth and complexity information. But there is a new training specifically for secondary on depth and complexity. So I'm looking in the chat. Is it okay to allow GT students to choose which of the 4 core areas they receive services in as long as they choose one? So I will go back to also looking at, so yes, but you also need to look at your district's policies and your district's policy and see what do you say is your program options, because you may have it in your district program that they're going to be served in all 4 content areas and not into one. So you might need to look at that to make sure that you're following what your district policies are. So our evaluation checklist, which I want to say this, what they put in the chat is a tool that you can use to look at the content, the process, the product, the effect, the talent development, and then program and administration. So there are a series of questions, pretty much what all of them, I think program design and administration probably has about 2, to ask questions about the material that you're using as you go forward. And going into that. And so looking at those processes and going into that procedure, going into how would you look at it? What would you ask that question? And so on my side here at the state level, I will be providing some of these questions also to our content developers out there as they work on the THL, and then to our own staff as they work on Texas Home Learning and building in those pieces and components as they read it. So that goes to the Texas Performance Standards Project. And so as you know, it's a K-12 program. It was specifically when it started out, 4th grade, 8th grade, and then they called it the exit. So it's pretty much anyone that's exiting out. So these are our current grade bands. Middle school and high school, we have really upped our high school courses options. So you'll see a lot of CTE options also, and then more math and science. So Melissa, after today, after this session, if this will be posted. So if this will be posted up today, I will make sure that the PowerPoint is posted, and then I will actually put the link separate on that page for you as we go. And then someone might be putting them in the chat as we go. So, but if you ever go to the main page of the GT at the bottom, the Teacher Toolkit 2 is the link there. You can find all of that there. And there's a link to the TPSP. And I don't know if this is hyperlinked. So here are, so when we're looking at our products and we're looking at our student work, and I think everyone probably on the call has seen our primary, our first grader and his earthworm video. But let's go to high school, and hopefully it will work, and make sure I do a new screen share. Well, I'll come back out because it's not popping up. Yeah, I'll pop it up in a minute. But sorry about that. Luckily, no music just started. So we'll look at a couple of these in a few minutes. But these are a sample, and all of these are available on the TPSP website. So they are there for you to look at also. So for those who have never used the GT Independent Study Interdisciplinary Studies Mentor Seminar, here are the course information for the PEAMS code, the abbreviations. It is 9 through 12. I do know that some of you do take it to the middle school level. They do get one credit for the year, for 1 credit for the course. And it has been reapproved for up to school year 24-25. So it is still active. It will probably always be reapproved until either someone fights to get it to be a course in some subject area. I don't know where, but we'll still live in our independent study. But as I said earlier, we do have essential knowledge and skills, and those skills are broken up into the 6 that you see here, into research, presentation, product design, professional behavior, evaluation, and communication. So we beefed those up when we did the renewal, which was last year, actually. So it was renewed last year. So once those came out, so you'll see the newer courses and the design of that. So I put the link to the actual course on there for you. A couple of things that some of you, if you've been around for a while, you knew that there was a tool out there that we had available. And this is the Lighthouse Initiative for Texas Classrooms. So the Lighthouse was probably at this point 20-something years old. It was a one-time initiative that was funded, and it created some tasks and activities that help bridge the AP and the GT world. So it really provided some supports for those AP courses with GT strategies and different things to look at with those AP courses. As I said, it is an old resource. It was a website. We did take it down because we could not update it, but it is available as a PDF. So I will put that PDF available on the GT Tuesdays resource page. So for those who would like to just look at it, peruse it, just know that the TEKS and the college and career, the AP standards may have changed for certain courses, but it is a good, is a good resource. And then the next one is our Texas Middle School program for AP Spanish. So this was a program that is really implemented and blown up across the state. for those who were looking at AP programs and that middle school Spanish. Having that where those students, one, can get that course credit, but also taking the AP exam. And so this was some of that preparatory material for them. So that will be also posted for you also, because I know a lot of you, as we went into it, built out and added into your programs to have a middle school program for those students to get their AP credit for that. All right, so at this time, any questions, thoughts? Could we, how do we, what ifs out there? No questions?
Ms. Brewer, I went ahead and sent, hi, let me just, I guess, just to be clear, I did register for this session, of course, but once I register, give me the cohort of the every monthly session. So I'm registered, it's only one time, right? Like I'm done. So I put in my calendar and everything, so I should be done. Like it's gonna be like,
You're done.
I'm set, okay. I thought every time I said, oh, you know, okay, thank you.
The link will work for each one.
Okay,
Good.
awesome. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, no problem. Let me see if all right, so the link for that. Any other questions? So the link for TP for the innovative course, definitely can do that. All right. Oh, okay. And then the question about CTE earlier. So let me go. I know a couple of districts have kind of conversated about this. Let me do specifically a CTE. Let me flesh that out, and let me do that as a GT Tuesday. Let me flesh that out to give a little bit more parameters and a little bit more structure, so you won't just have just my verbal statement, but have some written pieces to go with that. So let me put some meat to that. So CTE, because it depends on the course and it will depend on how that will look. And so, yes. All right, great news. So Amanda Smith has put her email and her notes in the chat that they have had great success with the AP Spanish program at their middle school in Alvin ISD. So if you want to know more, and if you're thinking about how to develop that, Amanda has put her name out there for you to reach out to her. Thank you, Amanda. Okay. So we have which teachers would need 30 hours versus 6 hours. So anyone that is providing GT services must have their 30 hours with a 6-hour update. There's not an either or. They have to have both. And so when you're looking at your GT, your AP, wherever you're putting them, in your honors class, you're saying that's GT services. Your AP, you're saying that is your GT services. Your robotics class, that is GT services. That person has to have 30 hours of GT training and 6-hour update after they completed their 30 hours. Plain and simple. Basic. All right. I'm doing other questions. Wonders. I think I got everything there. And I'm doing this one. All right, I just put the link to the AP, not the GT Independent Study mentorship course All right. Anyone want to share what they're doing out there for secondary and what their programs are?
Ms. Brewer, there's a question about we know anyone for professional development, and I came across a Lisa Wellborn. She is from S3 Strategy, so I'll put it on the box. And she did a wonderful presentation for us here in Rio Grande City, CIZ, for high-level questioning for the pre-AP and AP teachers for secondary, and then from K through more or less 8th grade. I did the differentiation of instruction with the 4 main, areas of like content, process, and resources and all that. So she did a wonderful job. Her training is in gifted ed, so I'll include her there. It's a good company from Dallas, I believe. No, Lubbock, sorry. They're from Lubbock, Texas, but they're wonderful ladies, and I'll just share that in the box for
Okay, thank
the
you.
past. Uh-huh.
Great. Yeah, put it in the chat. I see some others in the chat. We have Ian Bird and Lisa Van German with Birdseed. And then we have Justin Walter with New Minds. And what do we have? Target Responsive Learning. They have theirs listed. And then you got your ESCs having courses. So she put in Carrie Simpson. If you have as you know, I put the chats up also. So if there's someone you want to reach out to after this, you'll have their name to find them, or you can do a personal email to them to ask for their email as we go forward. Any others want to share what they're going? There we go. Got some in the chat. So what else is going on secondary? Anyone with a pull-out program? They want to talk about their pull-out program at the secondary level? Yes, my ESCs also, they got their trainings in the differentiated instruction and depth and complexity. So yes. Open call.
I don't have anything to offer there, but I do have a follow-up question on the 30 hours.
Yes.
If a teacher has completed the 30-hour foundation course, but has lapsed in some of their updates, if they just pick up a new update that year, is that good? Or is there any time where they would have to go back and recomplete that 30-hour foundation course?
So for the state purposes, really it's just that 6-hour update, getting back into it. Now, some districts do go beyond and say that they want, depending on if it's been 10 years out, 5 years out, 20 years out, they may ask them to take the newer courses just to make sure they're up to date on that. Or you can prescribe specific courses as you go forward, looking at what is going on. But yeah, most times it's just really going back in and taking that 6-hour update. Just make sure that they keep a documentation of their training as they move around or within the district as we change systems.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Nope. So what I'll do is I'll come back, but I'll make sure for the link, those are up there. So as we go forth, working with our English learner division, and want to help increase our awareness across our populations. And there is a new English learner web portal. And here is the information on that web portal. You can do the QR code to link up to it. You also see the web page. So they also have an opportunity to be to get into different pieces of it. So take a moment to check out the web's resources here. It is a redesign. It is really impactful for both our community partners and our families and educators. So this is a marvelous, thank you, Amber, going into looking at different resources as we go forth. Just wanted, while we're talking about secondary, just wanted to highlight with the Texas Home Learning. Currently, there are only the English language arts and the math curriculum available and up in the THL. And so here are the providers. So they are for middle school, Amplify is doing the English language arts. And then Odell Education is doing the high school. And then Carnegie Math is doing pretty much most of the math for the state. So Carnegie Math is the other option. So if you want to look at the PD, the other resources that they put out there, all of these are hyperlinked, so you'll get to find their resources. And these links actually take you to their core page for those departments so that you can look at the material and what they're providing. We heard from about College Bridge earlier this year, but I wanted to put up for you as we're talking secondary, just to remind you that there are PIMS assigned courses here. You do get college credit and then college prep course credit. And then also it's free to you to June 2022. Sorry, yeah, June 2022. And so today was the deadline for one, so but there's one coming up for the 25th. So you might want to look at going on to their website if that is something that you were wanting to consider for the spring semester or even for the summer semester. It'll show you the deadlines to start there. Project Restore, as you know, is available out there. I'm not going to cover a lot about that today because you heard me about that one. And then here's my contact information. This is my line at work. So if you ever need to reach me, this will, you can reach me at this number. And if there are any other questions out there, and then I also want to, I know I was not able to show the videos today, but if you go to the TPSP, go to the high school, scroll down to the bottom, you'll have your options of the high school videos that you can watch. Same for the middle school or any of the other grade levels there at the bottom of that main page for that grade band. So if you have no questions or any other wonderings, it's been great talking to you and seeing you today. I hope everyone got a little rest over the weekend, but hopefully you're having a good week, and let's get ready for the next phase. So we have a question in the chat. Are you having trouble with distance learning with people? Are people having trouble with distance learners engaging, and what do you do about them? Okay, so I'm gonna push back on that, Sheila. Are we talking students or adult learners? Because you know, some of us are doing PD also. So students, okay. Working with students, thank you. That could help clarify, because you know, sometimes teachers they'll push back also. All right. So anyone having trouble with students engaging in this distance learning, and how are you overcoming that? You put that in the chat, or if someone wants to jump off and talk about it, we got a few. Okay, so they're off the radar, thinking about furloughing. Wow, okay, a lot of things, people are thinking of furloughing. Okay. Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, that's what I was thinking also. Let's think about student engagement. Yeah, we can't have that conversation. Student engagement. Okay. Y'all are building out my code for the year. All right, student engagement in the virtual world. With their regular work. Okay. Student engagement, professional learning engagement. Got it. Okay. Good. All right, y'all. So I want to say thank you. So a couple of things to look at. Assessment. I got my to-go-tos. Assessment in Spanish, I need to check on that. But then looking at how do we pull GT into CTE, and then student engagement, and then parent engagement. I got it. All right, I hope everyone has a great week. This, I want to make sure, I think I did hit record. I did. And so I want to say thank you. And then I will get these up for everybody. Have a great week.